Tonight we are really honored to have Debbie Katzav on board with us tonight and to talk about information systems, something that she has created herself.
Information management.
Information management systems. Okay, this is something that Debbie has created herself after working in the world of finance for many years and seeing how badly or how well we put our things together as far as documents and things go. I spoke to Debbie, it must have been in July or sometime around then, and we were finally able to organize a time that suited both of us to do it tonight. So I'm really, really grateful to Debbie. Thank you so much for joining us and agreeing to be a speaker tonight. And on the same theme, we're going to go into breakout rooms shortly. But what Debbie and I discussed, which we really want to sort of see, is how people feel and where they are at as far as how do you track and store your photographs, your emails, your documents, anything that is of importance. Where do you put it? How do you stack it, and where do you put it? And is it easily accessible? Is it easy to get to it? Is it easy to find it when you need it in a hurry or when you are looking for these things? And if you have a system, how does it work for you? Does it work for you or doesn't it work for you?
Different kinds of
doesn't. Sorry, can you please all put yourselves on mute for now? Okay. All right. I just want to welcome somebody from America. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us, Debbie Cunningham. Debbie and I go back quite a few years, and I'm really honored that you're joining us from the States. Thank you. So what I'm trying to say is, which is very important, is where do you put all these things? I know there are many times where I have had to look for a document in a hurry, like, something to do with insurance, or the accountant has asked for something, or I'm looking for a photograph of a trip that I took a few years ago or whatever, and I don't know where to start looking for these things. And you get frustrated, you don't know what to do. I'll come back to you, I'll look for it, I'll let you know, and we don't find these things. And Debbie is going to help us tonight to find out exactly how to do that and what is the best way of doing it. So we are going to go into breakout rooms. And the questions that I'm asking you is, how do you track and store your all these documents, emails, WhatsApps, photographs, anything that is of importance for you, and even your paperwork? Do you know where your wills are? Do you know where your power of attorney is? Do you have your birth certificates easily available? All these kinds of things. If it's a marriage certificate, if it's divorce papers, if it's any of these kind of things, do you know where they are? And are they easily accessible? Because this is a question that Debbie is going to get into in much more detail. And if you have a system, how does it work for you? And if it doesn't work for you, what is not working? So that we can then help you to clarify that. So, Daniela, do you want to start?
Sure. I think that we all felt that in terms of the hard copies and things, especially those who kind of made Aliyah and had to make copies and of everything, we feel we know where that stuff is. It's when it's post Aliyah, once we sort of become more digitized and have folders and photographs and storages and backups, and that it becomes a little bit crazy. And people are being very technologically savvy of using Canva and Google, but that can drive people crazy as well. And I think it's an idea of we need to know where we can start to make some sense of it all. So the starting point is really important.
I think that's a very, very important thing. Okay, great. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Vanessa?
Okay, great. All right. So I loved the beginning of our conversation. We started off with a fire story. Okay. Um, why? Of course, it's a sad story, but actually, we can learn from these traumas how to store and track our very valuable material and whatever else we need in our lives. And so, of course, we spoke about external hard drives, which again, like I'm going, oh gosh, what is that? And I was informed and I was actually shown what it was. Then we also spoke about Dropbox. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. And also, someone in our group has a wonderful IT guy. So her life is so easy. All she has to do is just contact this IT guy, and that's it.
Okay.
And she gets on with the rest of her life, and she's just got a laptop. And then also there's this thing, and I can't remember Sandy. I spoke about Google Drive and Canva.com. We've already mentioned it, but Sandy mentioned something really, really cool as well. Hashalom. Please elaborate because I love it. Like you've got to listen to this idea.
Chas v'shalom.
Okay, thank you.
It's a document where you have every single everything about yourself. Your name, your Teudat Zot, your address, your emails, your telephone numbers, your children's emails, telephone numbers, Teudat Zot, where they live, everything to do with your children, to do with your car, to do with every single your utility bills, your payments, your standing orders, your bank account numbers, everything, where your passwords are. So if chas v'shalom, something happens to you, your children know where everything is in one document.
But isn't it like a huge security risk? I'm sorry, just putting all that information somewhere where, wow, I don't know if I would want to do that. Sorry.
I'm making my children's life simpler. I never thought about the security risks. If someone wants to get hold of my electricity bill and know what the account number is, it does not have my bank account number.
Yeah.
But it does have, and it does
Okay,
not have it does not have passport numbers. It says where my passport numbers are,
Okay.
and they need to have my phone to get that. So it's not all in one; it's directed.
That'll be
So
interesting
someone
to
needs
hear.
my laptop, my phone, and that piece of paper.
Right. Okay, Bernice, welcome.
Thank you.
So this Debbie was going to elaborate on in a minute. Okay. Debbie Cunningham, you wanted to say something. You raised your hand.
Yeah,
Debbie?
I wanted to respond to who was just talking?
Sandy.
Sandy. I wanted to respond to Sandy. There is a way, Sandy, to do exactly what you've done because I've done it myself very similarly. I have a chronically ill adult child, and if somebody's going to need to get my information, I have it all split across two documents. And what I have is the document itself it's a Word document, it's password protected. But inside, I have a really simple trick so that the people who know me would be able to figure out all the passwords and stuff, but somebody who doesn't, just looking at the document, doesn't. So I come up with a key, and for example, ones that I've used off and on for years is the last two digits on any account number or anything else, I just flip them. And then if somebody gets into the file, who needs the information that I trust, I've told them that. But anybody else who gets in, there's no problem. They don't know what those numbers are, actually.
Mm.
So you can make what you have a little bit more secure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very interesting. Okay. Anybody else got any other comments they want to make? No? Okay. All right. So I think Debbie, it's going to be over to you now.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
do you want to just also introduce yourself properly and give your
I will do all that. Don't worry.
a bit of background? Thank you. All right.
Yeah. So, before I share my presentation, I want to say thank you for having me and good evening and shalom. And yeah, it's another difficult evening in Israel. We're never going to get used to it. And thank goodness we're not going to get used to it, but it can't wait for it to be over. It's really,
Yeah.
really hard to pull ourselves together every time. I grew up in South Africa. I've been here since 1997. I grew up here also as a child. I'm originally from Argentina, actually. But I left as I was very, very young. But we do speak Spanish, English, and Hebrew in my family, and we speak it all together, all of us. So it's quite funny to
Not
hear
a
it
salad.
from the outside. Yeah. And I will talk about a little bit about what I do in the presentation, so I'm not going to speak about it now. I just want to say that this topic of information management, personal or business information management, but at the moment we're looking more at personal, it's a very, very big topic. In the time that I have this evening, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I don't know how long.
45, yeah.
How much?
45.
45. I'm not going to be able to cover everything, certainly not things that are how-tos. Not only because of time, but also because there's a lot of differences between iPhone and Android and Mac computer and personal computer, and people are at different levels of technicalities or technical know-how. And also, I'm not a digital trainer, okay? I come from the organizational side, okay? And I've taught myself the technical side, the digital sides, but I'm not. If somebody wants to learn how to use Google Drive and its various features, that's not me. If somebody wants to learn about Google Drive in the aspect of personal information management, yes, I can help with that. But I'm not a digital trainer. I come from like more the school of thought of how to organize it, and how to implement it using digital tools. So it was very important for me to say that. And I'm sure that throughout the presentation, you're going to have questions. And if you can just write them down or in the chat, and I will refer to everything, because I think I do cover a lot of your concerns, even if it's not in great detail. So I'm going to share my presentation, and let's hope that all the technical things work properly this evening. All right, let's do this. Okay, let me know that you can see my presentation and not my presenter view.
Yeah.
Yes?
It started sharing, but that's it. We haven't got anything yet.
Yeah, it's just blue screen sharing.
Wait for it, wait for it. Now?
Yeah.
Still
Not
blank.
yet. I think it's just taking a
Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Great, Yofi. Okay, so we're going to talk about creating order out of the chaos of our personal information in our digital age, because we are, all in all, in a digital age nowadays. So let's begin. Okay. So maybe you recognize these two or three people here on the screen. And we've all learned over the last few years, 10 years, even more, how important it is to keep our homes tidy and organized. And we've read and seen tips on how to do so. Get organized with a home edit, if anybody knows it. It's on Netflix, or Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. She's got the very famous book and also TV show. There are many, many home organizers out there on Instagram, on Pinterest, or on TikTok, and they give all their wonderful tips, and some of them we're able to implement. And most of us have also we aspire to manage ourselves and our time better, and we're constantly looking for tips and tricks and apps to help us to do so. We read books and we attend seminars and courses about this elusive thing called time management, which is actually called these days self-management, because time cannot really be managed. It's a given. So, but we can manage ourselves within the time that we have. Now, these days, more and more people are actually realizing that there's another area which has become messy, as we actually discussed in the breakout rooms, and it's very overwhelming, and therefore it needs to be organized, it needs order, it needs systems, it needs methods, it needs organization. In other words, it needs to be managed. And I'm talking, of course, about our own personal information. Now, if we stop to think about it for a moment, the types and amount of important personal information in our lives, it can really be overwhelming. I'm going to go through some of them and give you some examples. In our finances, there's data in our bank accounts, in our credit cards, insurance policies, investments, savings, things to do or information to do with our health, be it test results, medical summaries, expenses, claims that we make to our medical insurance, information regarding our employment. It can be our salary slips, our contracts, recommendation letters, resumes. If we have a business, there's a whole lot of information relating to our business. Household can be anything to do with the bills, for example, passwords as discussed here, things to do with our kids, their schooling, their, of course, their health, report cards, all sorts of things to do with our kids, their education, our education, appointments, even appointments is information, tasks, things that we want to do, things that we need to do, also information, and of course photos and videos. That's like the bane of everybody's lives just about. And as discussed also in the breakout rooms, important, what I call important documents, wills and birth certificates, marriage certificates, even contacts. Contacts is also information, very important information, because as we know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It can also be ideas, things that we want to do, ideas that occur to us, how to organize them so we can come back to them and actually do something with them. It can be projects, things that we want to do, for example, around the house, shiputs, a renovation, even a trip overseas. And we need to prepare and do all sorts of things and gather a lot of information before, during, and after. And of course, memorabilia. Can be photos, can be all sorts of papers and bits and pieces regarding things that happened to us, to our family in the past. So as you can see, it's lots and lots of different types of information. I haven't even discussed in what format it is. So until a few years ago, most of this information was in hard copy, and it was organized, if it was organized, in ring folders. Maybe you remember those, in hanging folders, these that you see here in those cabinets, in filofaxes. If you remember the filofaxes, I used to love my filofax. In notebooks. Okay, we used to write things down in notebooks and just pile them up and keep them. And with the advance of technology, especially laptops and tablets and smartphones, of course, much of the data contained in hard copy, in documents, in papers, has been morphed into bits and bytes. And like we see here, mainly our phones and our computers. So on the face of it, the mess of files and folders and papers disappeared because of, and all this precious cabinet space that we used to have, most of us, I suppose, was cleared, or we still have it sometimes, but it contains old things and not new things, because a lot of things we receive now by email, by WhatsApp, etc. So, like, it's great, isn't it? I mean, why is there a problem? So before I carry on and explain if it's a problem or not, I want to show you a short video, and let's hope it works. Okay. So I see that it hasn't come on yet. I'm just waiting for it to come up. Let's hope it all works.
There you go.
Let me know.
It's up.
And of course, it's not going to work. Wait. There we go.
Make it bigger. No? Okay.
Mhm.
Debbie, does it have sound? We're not hearing the sound, or I'm not.
I don't think there is sound. I think it's just going through the time.
Yeah, just look at the pictures and
Yeah,
just look at it. Look at the desk and look what's
What's the
happening
problem?
there.
there's no
What
sound.
happened?
There was no sound.
There's no
Okay,
sound.
the sound is not so important.
No, sound is
But
not.
it was a video, so you didn't finish watching it. Because I was hearing noises, so I stopped the video. I didn't know if you
Okay.
if you were able to see it or not.
Okay, so let's watch it
So
again.
I'm going to play it again. Doesn't matter if there's no sound, okay?
Yeah,
I'm not. Don't worry about the sound. If you want, I'll send you the
just look at the desk. That's the most important thing.
evolution of the disc. Yeah. So just what I'll try and put it back here. I think it's a wonderful depiction of
Yeah.
where we are these days. And this is not even very recent. So, yeah. Now, if I quickly, I don't know if you're able to see this, but can you see what's missing from here? From all these apps? Okay, I'll tell you because it's difficult to see. There's no WhatsApp. There's no
Yeah.
Google Drive, and there's no Google Photos.
Yeah,
So,
I just need to
okay,
see.
so obviously it's, they should actually update this video.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's carry on. So basically, yes, this whole digital age that we live in is wonderful. I love it. But also it has a less wonderful side to it. And I'm going to explain the new situation that we have. What's happening these days is that the vast amount of information that we had in the past when we didn't have all these digital tools is not actually gone. It's just not physically noticeable. We don't see it lying around the house. It now resides inside our gadgets. Therefore, when we don't see something, like with a lot of other things, it's easier to ignore, to just leave it. It's easier to not to attend to it, to leave it as it where it is and where it came in from. And as a result, and some of you did say it in the breakout rooms, the information is actually messier than ever. And I want to take you into a deeper dive into our information these days that is in byte format and all the places in which it lives in a scattered and pretty disorganized manner. So first of all, of course, our email. Most of us use Gmail, but not only. There's still Outlook and there's still others around, but most of the people are with email. The next one is our smartphones. And in our smartphones, we have various apps. Maybe you recognize some of these. WhatsApp, of course, Contacts, Google Keep, Evernote, Calendar, and also in computer files, be it Excel or other types of PDFs and folders. And also on the cloud, this is the Google Drive, some of you spoke about that, or even in a few clouds, okay, which is even more of a problem. Dropbox, OneDrive, iCloud, those are the most popular ones. And let's not forget hard copy. Yes, paper hasn't disappeared yet. It's still there. And in addition, and you guys also, some of you mentioned this, external drives. These are still around and sometimes they can be very handy and very useful. So we have all these different types of inboxes or places in which these days information resides. So if you think of all this information, but also of the information that is not kept, which gets discarded or lost either by mistake because we press something, because we don't understand a certain app and we press something, or because we think we're going to remember, so we delete it on purpose and we don't remember. by the way, most of us don't remember, then we get data loss without even realizing that we lost something, and then we go and try and look for it and we don't find it, and actually the reason is that we deleted it. So, and this loss can carry a very, very high cost, both sentimental and or financial. And before I start giving you tips, and I will give you a lot of tips, I want to paint a picture for you of what information chaos looks like. And I'll use a reference which we're all familiar with and which resonates with the home organization that I started with. And let's see that it all works. Okay, there we go. So imagine that every time you went shopping or that you ordered something online and it came into your house, you opened the door and you just dumped your purchases wherever it was convenient and easy, in the hallway, in the kitchen, in the lounge, and all the rooms that are close to the door. And you just left them there. Instead of taking each item out of the parcel or out of the bag and placing it where it belongs, on the correct shelf in the pantry, or in the right drawer in the freezer, or in a basket in a bathroom, or in the right shelf in your wardrobe. That practice of leaving everything in the next to the door is not viable, is it? Maybe it's okay for a day or two, but not more than that. We can't live like that. So what we do with our important information in the digital age is the equivalent of leaving our shopping where it's easy, leaving it where it came in from. Pictures we leave in the gallery of the phone or in WhatsApp. Emails we just leave in our inboxes, and we don't delete them, and we don't archive them, or we don't label them, we don't save them where they belong. Files we just leave them in the downloads on the computer, or at best we put them in the documents folder on the computer. So I'm sure that by now you realize that this practice is not viable either. Just like dumping all our shopping at the entrance to our homes, that's not viable at all. So whenever you think of organizing, think of this example, and you'll understand that you can't just leave things as they were because you don't see them physically. So this situation has created a new challenge. And in the last couple of years, I've been noticing more and more posts, and also clients of mine. But in a lot of these posts, people are asking for advice on how to organize this messy mountain of important information that is almost all of it in digital. And I see it from people of all ages, but mostly I'll say 25, 30 upwards, when life becomes a little bit messier. My kids, if I have kind of teenagers, a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, they don't really care so much because their lives are easy. What do they have? Some photos, a couple of emails. So, but afterwards, when your life becomes a bit more complicated and you have a family or you have a business, this becomes an issue. And I'm going to show you a couple of posts that I've picked out that discuss this problem. I'm just going to quickly read them. I'm forgetting things and missing things. Everything is messy. Okay, this one is a good one. I had 50,000 photos. Due to lack of space, I deleted them. And I don't have any more storage on my phone. What to do? Is there some kind of way to summarize interesting conversations or thoughts or tasks? And these are just very few. And since I did this presentation, I put up these slides, I've seen more and more and more asking the same things, especially the issue of storage. So there's lots of them. I see them all the time. So what's happened is that people have come to be aware of the fact that just it's not, because even though it's not physically visible, this issue cannot be ignored anymore. Yes, there are more important things in life. I'm not going to say it's the most important thing, but it's a thing, all right? So this awareness that this needs to be dealt with has risen over the last few years because people have realized, or people have been experiencing, I think, Michelle, you said it, the difficulty in finding pieces of information that they need because there's so much of it and it's not organized, that they're wasting a lot of time doing it, and sometimes they need to pay companies to help them, especially if they lose information or delete things by mistake. and it's taking up a lot of virtual storage space, and they keep having to pay more and more to keep that storage space. And what happens a lot is also once our gadgets, our phones, our computers are full, or even our storage, then things don't work properly, and you suddenly cannot send emails or receive emails, and you cannot take a video when you at some important event and your phone is telling you there's no more space, delete something. So we're losing data. And there's a lot of brain noise as well. All this thing is like, okay, well, I don't want to even open my phone because there's so many things. I don't want to go into my gallery because it's so messy. So, and I think one of you said it, or two of you said it, Sandy, I think. I call this issue legacy. Is a lot of people, especially after October 7th, that they don't want to leave a mess for their inheritance to deal with. From different points of view, also because they don't want to leave them a mess, they want to be nice and not leave them the mess to deal with, and also it can be embarrassing. Some people they don't want their inheritors to find everything that they've saved or whatever. So there's also the issue of legacy. So the good news is that the situation is not a given. There are ways and methods and systems to manage all this information. And all these ways and methods and systems are part of this field called Personal Information Management, PIM or PIM for short. And if we look at, there is even a Wikipedia definition for PIM, and it's not something that I invented, okay? It's the study of the activities people perform in order to acquire or create, store, organize, maintain, retrieve, and use information items such as documents, paper-based and digital, web pages, email messages for everyday use, to complete tasks and fulfill da 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 da. Okay, so what's happened is that this field has, until a few years ago, it's been mostly a field of academic study. But now it's becoming a field of doing, not just in academia. And the reason that I've highlighted these words is that it's not just organizing, it's a whole process. It starts with acquiring, or how do I get the information, or how I create the information, and how do I organize it, and how I use it. So it's a whole process. That's why it's called management and not personal information organization. So I said I'm going to explain a little bit how I came about doing this. So I basically started with personal finances many years ago, 2011, I think. And I did that I still do that. But for many years, I only did that. And in the last few years, I've noticed that people, a lot of my clients also, have a lot of messes in the personal information that we need for the personal finances. So I normally, before, when I start with a client, I need to organize our information so we can actually start making sense of it and analyzing and improving things. So, and then I noticed that it's something that I do very naturally, but most people don't. So I started exploring it and started putting it together as part of my business. And today I do the two things, but I do them completely separate. I have clients that only do personal information management. I have clients that do personal finance, and I have clients that do both. So now that I've most probably made you all think about your personal situations as far as PIM is concerned, I'm going to give you some practical tips. And this is what you've all been waiting for. So before I do, now just another word. What I've started to explaining earlier about this, the world of personal information. I call it creating your own personal Google. Google is a place where we normally go to find external information, and we just go into Google. Nowadays we're going to ChatGPT or whatever, but we still use Google. It's fine. I'm not worried about Google. And we click on it and on the search bar, and we write whatever we're looking for from the world. What I want to do with you guys is I want to motivate you to create your own personal Google, okay? A space in which your personal information is easily traceable. You can find anything relating to you, not to the outside world, but to you. So this is what I'd like to challenge you to do after this presentation. Not tonight, but at some point in the future. All right, so the first tip is about cloud storage. Yes, it is safe to use, but you need to pay for it. I see a lot of people that try and get by with the 15 gigabytes that Google gives. It's not enough. It's not doable. You need to pay for clouds. And I personally recommend not having more than 2 clouds, and actually having 2 clouds. Not necessarily the same in the 2 clouds. I'm not going to go into it. It's a bit more complicated. But I see a lot of people that are not only do they have a few Google Drives under different Gmail addresses, but they have Dropbox, and they have OneDrive, and they have iCloud, and they have Google Drive, and they have clouds in different scanning apps and etc. And it's all over the place. So that's not organization. So yes, use the clouds, but don't spread yourself, don't scatter your information in more than 2 places, and each place you need to know why it's there and not in a different place. And what you need to understand is all the big tech companies, Google, Apple, Samsung, Amazon, all of them, they're vying for our storage dollars. What they sell is that, and they want us to keep on every year or every month paying for that. So that's why you need to not spread yourself thin or too many different places, because it also means more money at the end of the day, because space tends to run out, and also more mess. So the same with the emails. Don't open another email address because you run out of space. Stick to 1, 2 at most email addresses, and know which one you're using for what. And so that's cloud storage. In my opinion, it is safe. It doesn't mean that you don't need backups. And I'm going to talk about that, I think, in a minute. Yes, I mentioned this already. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's another reason that 2 clouds is a good idea, because it's not clever to put everything just in Google or Apple or Microsoft. I can tell you that personally, yes, I do use Google for a lot of things. I do pay, and I pay for a lot. I pay for 2 teras. And I use it for certain things, but I also pay for Dropbox, and I use that for other things. And I'm very happy with that, because I know that I'm not putting all my life in one place in Google's hands. So it's really a warm recommendation. Do what you want at the end of the day, but I think it's not very clever to put everything in one place, not even in Apple or Google. Okay. Once you decide where you're going to put your things and which 2 clouds you're going to use and pay for, what you need to have is a logical folder structure. And the best way to do that, a folder, I'm not really going to go into it because there isn't much time, but it basically means the folders that you know that you have in your file explorer, for example, that you have a main one, and you could do a sub and another one and another one and another one. It needs to be done in a logical manner that fits your life or your business or both. And the best way after you have, even you draw it on a piece of paper and you start doing it, putting it on the computer, is to make sure that it's also accessible on the cloud and in your laptop and even from your phone app. And for example, Dropbox and Google Drive as well, and just about all the clouds, they have phone apps that you can access, at least access to view or to send or to share any file from the phone as well. But in order to find them properly, you need to have a logical folder structure. Another thing is we need to learn to use our apps. What happens is a lot of people, even with WhatsApp, they don't really know all the ins and outs of WhatsApp. And therefore, they don't use those, or even calendar. You know what? Let's take an even easier example, Google Calendar, which I think most of us use. People don't really bother to learn how to use them properly. And they have so many not just features, but also it's a way of using them that can make the app so much better for information management, not just for doing things quickly, but also for information management. WhatsApp, for example, released, I think, a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, something new called lists. Which helps us classify chats and contacts into different lists so we can easily go back and find things instead of having one long chat. By the way, this morning it disappeared. I did it on my phone very quickly when it came out. I got it very early on, and for some reason it disappeared this morning. I already contacted them, WhatsApp, and I'm waiting for an answer. But we tend to not really dedicate too much time to learn to use apps properly, and then we hear from a friend about another app. Oh, this app is new and it works well, and we would just start app hopping, and it's not very good because we waste time in learning the basics, and sometimes it costs money. So we need to learn to use our apps properly. And the thing with you guys is that you're all English speakers. And for Israelis, I found that, I don't know, most of the Israelis maybe are lazy or their English is not good enough. They don't even go into Google to try and find answers. And as English speakers, it's a little bit easier to just go into YouTube or Google and ask a question. How do I use WhatsApp for whatever, and get an answer. Normally the answers are there, normally too many answers, but anyway, you can learn a lot by just Googling things. Okay, another thing is delete. We tend to not go into our gallery, for example, and delete things that we don't need. We receive so much junk in our WhatsApp, for example, and depends on how your phone is set up or how your WhatsApp is set up. A lot of the times it goes straight from your WhatsApp into your gallery, and we just collect, I'd say more than 50% of the files there. We don't really need them. Photos and videos that are not necessary, and we don't bother to sit and delete. So the best is to delete as much as possible. I'll show you another app that all the phones have that can be used for deleting even quicker. So my recommendation is take a couple of minutes every day to delete every day. And what you don't want to delete, file as soon as possible in your logical folder structure that is also on the cloud. So what happens is people don't delete is that the phone gets full, and then they say, I need to get a new phone with a bigger storage. No. That's not a reason to buy a new phone. Okay, you buy a new phone because it's old, because it's not working properly, because it's broken, because you want a better camera, but not because it's full. Because to take everything, all the, I don't know, thousands or tens of thousands of photos and videos and transfer them to another phone, that's not the solution. So delete and file and take them away from your phone. Your phone is not a cupboard. Okay, and that leads me to the next point, which is we need to understand how phone storage works and the relationship between phone and cloud and WhatsApp and cloud, and do the correct definitions. Okay, and now I'm going to go into like a little bit of an example here, because I get asked a lot and I want you to understand this. This is, I'm going to first refer to Android users. And GP is Google Photos. So if you delete media from your Android gallery, it doesn't delete that media from Google Photos. But the other way around, yes. In other words, if you delete media from Google Photos and that media is still in your phone, it gets deleted also from your phone. By the way, it works also on iPhones the same way. But on iPhone, it works a little bit differently because it all works on iCloud. So deleting media from iPhone's photos does delete that media from iCloud and vice versa. So I'm not going to go too much into this, but you need to understand how things work, especially if you do have everything backed up into Google Photos. So that's a little aside. Okay, and this is the app that I said that I'm going to show you. I'm just showing you, it's not a live demonstration, but all the Android phones have this app. It's called My Files. And if you look it up, there are different apps that do the same, but this is a good one. And I think most of the phones have it. And if you don't, then download it. What it does is it lets you manage a lot of the media on your phone, and it shows you basically your camera and documents. And the Android, for example, there's a very innocent looking folder called Android, and it actually hides all the mess that's called WhatsApp inside it. You need to click and click and click and click until you find the WhatsApp folder. And so that's why I call it a secret folder. And then you can from there start deleting, and you'll actually be amazed at what you find there. So My Files, and you need to do something called, not just look at the essentials, which is the default, but actually choose all. Okay, so that's a little tip. And remember to dig into the Android folder. Don't ask me about iPhone. I'm not an iPhoneist, so I don't know, but I imagine that there's something similar there. Okay, so WhatsApp, as I said, has many secret folders holding data, so you need to get to know it. These days, also, there's a new thing for between Android and laptops that you can actually set up your laptop to show you the contents of your phone, and it makes it a bit easier to manage, to delete, to move things around on your computer instead of doing it on the phone itself. I mentioned this a little bit before. Don't hop and switch between apps. Better stick to, if you choose like a task management app, stick to it. Don't go looking for the shiny new app, calendar, notes app, everything that you like. Try and stick to it, because we tend to we leave information everywhere we try. So chaval. Another thing, okay, we spoke a little bit also in the breakout rooms about all the important documents. So there is a little thing called scanning. Yes, it takes time, but for me, as far as I'm concerned, scanning is a godsend. And the thing is that people tend to think that it takes a long time. They tend to do it in the wrong way. They take a document of 10 pages and they scan each page separately instead of doing it as one document, one PDF document, and they do it upside down or sideways. So, you can learn to scan properly, and then I can tell you for the last few years, my physical files haven't really grown. Okay, because just about everything, even things that arrive into my house, into my life in paper, I tend to scan them and then chuck away the paper. I actually, I keep very few things in paper. And even now I'm doing a project, which, yes, it does take time, of going back to things that are from, I don't know, before the year 2000 and something, 5, 6, and taking folders or files with papers and actually either scanning them or just chucking them out. Okay, because there's no need to keep them anymore. But what's important, I scan and I put it on my logical folder structure and I name it properly. And I think this is the next point. And in the correct place, and whenever I need it, I just do a little search on my computer, and voila, it's there. And yes, that is the next point. A lot of things that we receive in the email or even when we scan just get like a name that doesn't mean anything, that is just meaningless. Scan 005, whatever. Don't leave it with that name. Before storing it, give it a proper name. You can, you can write a whole story in the name. We're not restricted to 10 characters like it used to be many, many, many years ago. And this is why naming is important. It's important for searching for files, and even more important in the AI era that we all living in now, that we're going to let AI look for things for us, and if it doesn't have a proper file name, it's not going to find it. And of course, there are naming conventions. I'm not going to go into it now. Another thing which is really, really important is safety. And here I'm talking about two things, all the hacking things, not letting hackers take control of your computer or your phone or your WhatsApp. So obviously you need to be careful with links and emails and downloads and etc. I believe that we do need good antivirus programs. I don't trust just the Windows features. And as you guys also mentioned, being smart about passwords, adding two-step authentication, using authentication apps. I hope that you know what I'm talking about. And what I mean by legacy, and you guys mentioned it, instruct your next of kin what you want done with your information that is stored on the cloud, if anything, if chas v'chalila something happens to you. Because when chas v'chalila something happens to us, 2 days later, our credit card stopped working. So if you have things stored on the cloud with your credit card, next time you need to make a payment, it's not going to go. So in addition to everything that you've mentioned in the chas v'chalila file, I think this is something that you need to also add what you want. Do you want them to carry on paying for it with another credit card? You want everything downloaded and that's it? So that's another thing, to have people know where things are and what you want done with your personal information. And there's also inactive account managers in Google, Facebook. So that's another thing to think about. All right, after we've done all these things, when we've placed everything and we have our order and everything is tucked away nicely, some information, in order to actually take it to the next level, we need to do a deep dive. It can be financial, it can be health information that we have. And for that, we need things like Excel and sheets. We can download things from the bank and from the credit cards and start analyzing it. So it's much more than just putting things in the correct way and with the right names. But that's a whole other thing, and I'm not going to go into it. What my point is that don't just leave things without looking at them and doing something with them. And I love Excel for that. Artificial intelligence. I don't know if I have time, Michelle, to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you do have a few minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to say a few words because I know that it's something that people have been asking. So how does AI make our PIMs smarter? So AI can help us with automatic organization of emails, for example. Gmail has a lot of the things that we already have in Gmail, by the way. Maybe we don't call it AI, but it is based on EI. We can set up labels and all sorts of things, and it can really help us, at least organize our mail inbox better. I less like the file tagging. I don't particularly like it, but some people like it. And there's smart assistants like the Google Assistant or Siri that can help us with reminders and task management. Even to-do lists these days are powered by AI. And AI can also help us, as I mentioned before, with information retrieval, and that's why the names of files need to make sense. And let's see what else I've got here that I haven't forgotten anything. Yeah, so this is how it can help us. And so the question this is like really on the tip of the iceberg. Does AI mean that we don't need any more manual organization? So I've asked AI this question, okay? This is not me saying it. And even AI, ChatGPT in this case, I think it was, told me, listen, AI can help, but manual organization is still important because AI itself needs a starting point. You need to do the initial setup so that then AI tools can understand your life and your preferences, your folders, your labels, what's important, what's not important, the categories. And AI doesn't always understand the context of things like you do. Complex or nuanced data still needs you, our brains. And AI, if you leave it unsupervised, it can create chaos, okay? So you still need to do it yourself, at least in the beginning, and it can learn you and learn your habits and how you think, but it takes time. So we still need to be there, at least now in the beginning. Okay, I think this is this is basically says the same thing, that for example, manual adjustments today train AI to work better in the future. And correcting and guiding AI helps AI learn our preferences. And so this is an important thing. AI is like having a smart assistant. It's helpful, but still needs the boss, and you are the boss, to keep things running. Let's see what else. Okay, I have a few things about photos and videos. I don't know if we have time for that.
I think
Maybe
that's an
no.
important factor for a lot of people. So I think we can take the time to do
Okay,
that if
it
you
does
don't mind.
go a little bit. Okay, great, but it's still it repeats a little bit what I've said before. Again, it's not a training session. It's more a presentation, and just like to give you things to think about and hopefully do.
Right.
But there are some, okay, so there's some golden rules as far as mainly photos and videos are concerned. Rule number one, choose a central storage location, cloud, storage, both. I can tell you, because people always ask me this question, it's not a recommendation. I'm just telling you how I work. I use Dropbox and Google Drive. In my Dropbox, I have a folder called Photos and Videos, and there I have by month and year. And in month and year, I have also occasions, if there was an occasion that month, like a birthday or some kind of event. And then I create another folder and move and place all the photos that I want to keep, and I don't always want to keep everything, from my phone, because that's normally where they are created or where they are received. I put them there and I delete from my phone. But in addition, I have my Google Photos app, and just about everything goes there. And photos are of like family events. Like if my sister sends me photos of her kids, I'm not going to keep those photos in my Dropbox, but I will leave them on my Google Photos. Okay, because I do want to have photos of my family, but I don't need to have them of my extended family. But I don't necessarily need to leave them in my November 2024 folder of photos, because that's more for my own nuclear family. And in addition, I have something called iDrive. Oh, sorry, I didn't say something very important. My Dropbox is also on my computer. Okay, I have a laptop, especially bought a laptop with a lot of space, because I knew, because of my business as well, I needed a lot of space, and I wanted it backed down onto my physical computer as well. So it's on my computer, it's on Dropbox, photos specifically, and also on Google Photos. And in addition, I have something called iDrive. It's got nothing to do with iPhone. It's just called iDrive. Costs $70 per year, and it backs on another cloud everything that's on my computer, my Dropbox, and my phone. So that way I don't need external drives, and I know that if chas v'chalila anything happens to my phone, my computer, I can retrieve everything in a day. Okay, I just need a new computer, and voila, everything gets downloaded.
Wow.
Okay, so you need to make a decision which cloud, and are you going to use local storage as well? Dedicate time to regular maintenance, declutter monthly, and keep backups. I just spoke about that. And let's see, another thing, create folders by year and event. Like I said, I do it a little bit differently, but that's another way that people do it. Use tags or files them to make findings memories easier. That's also important in the names of the folders. And delete similar or unwanted photos. And here you need to be ruthless. There are apps that help you do that, and I think I'm talking about that there we go, in the next slide. You can use that. You can use the Google Photo suggestions or duplicate cleaner. But the thing is, you will often save the same photo or the same video in 2 different places, and we forget about it, and it just takes up a lot of space. So we need to do some work there. I don't particularly like using all these apps. I'd rather do it manually, because in any case I'll have to approve or disapprove things. So I'd rather just do it myself. Let's see. And then we spoke about that peace of mind by using backup. As I said, both cloud and physical backup, and I think that is possibly the best. The thing is, don't keep all your photos and videos on your phone. That's the worst thing you can do. Let's see what else. Okay, delete, declutter, organize, backup. It's all the same. And that's basically it. But before I take your questions, I just want to say, because I don't want to forget, because knowing me, I will forget. If you want to get more information from me, I have a few ways. First of all, I have my podcast. It's in Hebrew mostly. I think I have 3 episodes out of the 102 episodes that I've already recorded that are in English, but I'm sure that most of you, your Hebrew is good enough. You can either write on Katzav or Debbie Katzav, and you'll get to it. It's everywhere, that even YouTube. If you want to join my mailing list, it's also in Hebrew. I send a monthly newsletter about personal information management. I don't nag, it's only once a month. And if anybody wants to have a 20-minute guidance call with me on the phone, there's a link here. I'm going to copy everything to the chat in a moment. And then what this free call does is, if you want to hire my services, then we need to talk a little bit so I can actually see what your needs and wants are, and see how, if and how I can help.